Good morning and welcome. Our region is facing a crisis that threatens our mobility, our economy, our quality of life. A loss of significant funding to the backbone of our transportation system. Over the past year, we've worked closely with our regional partners, many of whom are in the room today. Thank you. To shape the plan of action for regional transit, or PART. We have achieved a significant milestone in this journey as we fulfill a state mandate. Today also marks a turning point as we shift from what could be to what will be. We know that the cost of inaction is greater than the cost of action. We are at a decisive and pivotal juncture with an opportunity to make a transformative change. These 130 pages outline sound policy solutions. As requested, the report that we've provided goes into great detail about service and accessibility improvements, options for funding, and explores governance reform. It's packed with data, with research and analysis to empower our state legislators. But it's the story behind the graphs and the numbers that we need to remember as we turn the page to the next chapter. The plot of this story is that this is about strengthening our transit system for being a part of the solution. Particularly, I want to thank the CMAP board, the MPO Policy Committee, and other committees across CMAP, including our CMAP Council of Mayors, for their leadership and guidance. And to our partners and funders like the Civic Consulting Alliance and the Chicago Community Trust. We could not have achieved this without you. Thank you to those who participated in focus groups, who lent your public voices and support to this process. And we would be remiss not to thank the Regional Transportation Authority, CTA, Metra, and PACE for your time, your guidance, to our staff as we continued to research these issues. And finally, I want to thank our incredible CMAP team. It is now my pleasure to hand this plan of action for regional transit to the legislative sponsors, Illinois State Senator Ram Vilivalam and Illinois State Representative Evedina Delgado, transit champions who will work hard to achieve and advance this conversation in Springfield. Thank you again. Leadership from across this region will be essential to making PART's policy proposal a reality. So let me go ahead and introduce the senator.
Good morning.
Good morning.
President Preckwinkle was going to say it that way later on anyway, so I thought I'd get ahead of her. Good morning. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you to all of you for being here. I have a 5-year-old and 2-year-old who are a little sick, so this is a precaution at home. So but I am glad that I was able to make it this morning because I strongly believe today is a good day. Today is a day that provides an opportunity for us to, as the Illinois General Assembly, take a big step forward in receiving this report. I first want to start with a round of thank yous to the CMAP team, board, committee, everyone that was involved with drafting this report. Can we give them a big round of applause for their efforts? I also want to thank our elected officials here today, our county leaders, from Cook to Lake to DuPage, and many more that are a part of the RTA regions for their significant participation and support. I want to thank my House sponsor, Representative Delgado, and I. We're on this journey together, and we're going to continue the fight to get this done. I want to thank my partner. You know, just so you all know, I'm the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, and I strongly believe we are the most bipartisan committee in the Illinois General Assembly. I'll probably get in some trouble for saying that, but my partner in the Senate, Senator Don DeWitt, who's here as well. Let's give him a round of applause. As he has not only helped me make this issue bipartisan, moved it forward, but also he has his own experience as it relates to working on public transit. And I also want to thank the agencies, RTA, CTA, Metro, PACE, for their partnership. I see Melinda from PACE in the crowd here today, because it is going to take all of us, and all of us having open minds as we move forward. I say this is a good day because I don't know how Representative Delgado or Senator DeWitt feels, but sometimes in Springfield, we have a lot of hurry up and wait, and this is an emergency, and we need to vote on it right now. Today is special because it's almost like we see an iceberg coming, but we have a lot, this is not the Titanic, we have a lot of time to prepare ourselves for this moment. And it gives us that opportunity to do it the right way, to do it in a way where we achieve public transit that is fully funded, that's reliable, that's safe, that's accessible, that's equitable, and that's also environmentally conscious. And I am so proud to have been a part of this work. I look forward to ensuring that we get this done, and again, we get it done methodically, and we get it done in the right way so that we continue to be a beacon for the Midwest, for the nation, in terms of people wanting to come here because, in part, of public transit and how our system works. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but my phone froze, so I didn't have my notes. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I believe I'm introducing, again, my House partner, someone who worked with us, just incidentally, we have started this work. House Bill 1342 became law earlier this summer. That is a step in the right direction, and I really am proud and honored to have worked with Representative Evgenio Delgado on these issues and look forward to continuing to do so. Representative.
So this is why I use good old-fashioned paper sometimes. So today marks a pivotal moment for the future of public transit in the Chicago region. And as we gather today to receive the PART report by CMAP, I stand before you not just as a state representative, but as an advocate for sustainable, efficient, and equitable transportation. Our transit systems are the lifelines of our communities, connecting people to jobs, education, and essential services. And we know that these systems face serious financial challenges. We know there's a fiscal cliff that threatens to undermine what I believe transit represents. With a projected shortfall of $730 million by 2026, we are at a crossroads where bold action and innovative thinking are not just options, but necessities. The PART report, a culmination of rigorous research and extensive public engagement, lays out a roadmap for securing the financial viability of our transit systems. It addresses critical issues like funding, rider experience, governance, and community development. And as someone who began her career with the Chicago Transit Authority, I understand the intricacies of these challenges and the profound impact that they have on every commuter, every family, and every business in our region. So this report's not just a collection of recommendations to me. To me, it's a call to action. It urges us to rethink the way that we fund and operate our transit systems, to break free from outdated formulas, and to embrace a vision that puts people and communities at the heart of our transit planning. As we look to the future, let us remember that transit is more than just a mode of transportation. It's a catalyst for economic growth, a key to environmental sustainability, and a foundation for equitable development. So the recommendations in this report, ranging from fare integration and affordability to enhancing bus services and regional rail, reflect a comprehensive approach to building a transit system that meets the needs of today and anticipates the demands of tomorrow. But a plan is only as good as its implementation. That's why I'm so happy to have my fellow legislators here with me. And we are going to work with our local and county leaders, our civic organizations, and every resident to join hands in this mission. I'm so proud to be standing up here with all of these folks who are committed to making transit the best that we've seen in the city of Chicago. and in the region in northeastern Illinois. As we embark on this journey, let us be guided by a sense of urgency, a spirit of collaboration, and a commitment to the public good, with the goal of a more connected, prosperous, and resilient Chicago region. Thank you to the CMAP team, the volunteers who served on the park committees, and to the community for your attention, for your support, and for your dedication to this vital cause. Together, we can ensure that our transit systems continue to serve as the arteries of our vibrant city and region now and for generations to come. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you again to the bill sponsors. You know, again, leadership from across this region is going to be essential, and several counties across northeastern Illinois have already taken steps to make transit more affordable and accessible to their communities. We're glad to have with us today leadership from several of the counties and the city of Chicago who will speak to the importance of a robust transit system to their constituents. To begin, let me turn it over to President Preckwinkle from Cook County for a few remarks.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm very grateful to be here today, and I want to thank CMAP staff for the thoughtful report that addresses the fiscal crisis our transit system is facing today. I'd like to recognize Senator Villivalam and Representative Delgado for their support, their foresight, and their leadership in sponsoring the legislation that hopefully comes from the report. I'm also happy to be here with Sis Killen, our superintendent of our Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. Thank you, Sis. My county colleagues, Sandy Hart and Deb Conroy, and Chair Pirogue is here from Kane County as well. Thank you, Chair Pirogue. All of you know what transit means for the communities that you serve. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the work of Sarah Whitmore and Darlene Hightower, who are champions of a strong and financially sound transit system. Thank you all for your good work, and to everyone here today for your support. Cook County strongly supports many of the PART report's recommendations as they align closely with the goals of the county's own transit plan released earlier this fall. Our plan calls for increasing ridership, making the system more seamless, and focusing on the needs of the most transit-reliant communities. In particular, I applaud the report's recommendation to expand reduced fare programs to include riders with low incomes. Adopting such discounts would make the region's transit fares more equitable and would mitigate the negative effects caused by future fare increases. This is a key step towards achieving transit equity across our region. It also builds on the success of our Fair Transit South Cook pilot, an innovative partnership to expand bus service and reduce fares on 2 train lines on the south side of Cook County, and also, of course, on PACE buses on the Halstead route. Fare integration remains a top priority for Cook County. The report shows how critical this initiative is and highlights the progress transit agencies have already made. We need to keep the momentum going for integration. This report makes a compelling case for additional funding for our transit systems. Roughly 20% of the transit agency's operating budgets are filled by federal pandemic resources. And when those resources are exhausted, service cuts are inevitable without increased funding. Let me be clear, this would be a real harm to our region. It would harm many people, often black and brown people, for whom transit is a lifeline. But it would harm our entire region by increasing congestion on our roads and pollution in our air. I support the bold $1.5 billion funding package outlined in the report, although I know it will not be easy to accomplish. Sustainable funding sources for all transportation modes are critical to a strong, resilient transportation system. And our transit system is part of the economic foundation of our region. While the report rightly focuses on transit funding, we can't ignore the funding challenges faced by other modes. The motor fuel tax revenue will erode as electric vehicle sales increase, and we must continue the discussion of how to fund transportation more broadly. However, new transit funding cannot come without reform. In fact, reform must come first. At the Cook County Forest Preserves, we spent years improving governance before going to the voters to ask for additional funding through a bond referendum. We have to show the same intentionality with our transit system. The fact is, the basic structure by which transit funding is distributed has not changed for 40 years. And yet mobility needs have changed dramatically across the region since then. This is unacceptable. More of the transit system's operating funds should be allocated through a regional discretionary process based on the appropriate criteria that can respond to changing needs. There are some who say that governance isn't a pressing issue. I believe it is. Even if our transit agencies work together well now, there have been many years, decades even, in which the service boards were at cross purposes. To solve the transit system's problems, we have to show unity of purpose, with our policies leading in one direction. In the system we now have, there are 47 board members across 4 boards appointed by 21 elected officials. That means that everyone and no one is responsible. Clarity of wisdom and unity of purpose are hard to achieve. However, it's difficult to see how we're going to do it with the board structure that we have now. While the challenges ahead of us are real, today represents a sincere step in the right direction for our region's transit system. CMAP has risen to the challenge before and has prepared a strong report on a difficult issue. I look forward to working with our partners at all levels of government on the next steps. Please know that you can count on Cook County as a partner in the work ahead. Bless you. And now I would ask my colleague, Chair Sandy Hart, to come to the podium.
Thank you, and thank you, President Preckwinkle, and thanks to all of you for being here today in support of resolving this important issue. A well-funded, equitable regional transportation system is absolutely critical for the future success of the Chicagoland area. Hundreds of thousands of people rely on it every day, and we must see to it that they can reliably get to where they need to go without delay. On a recent trip to Japan, I used public transportation, buses, streetcars, and trains during the day and late into the night. It was easy to use, clean, safe, and reliable. Our residents and visitors deserve a system like that one. Chicago is one of the most beautiful and vibrant cities in the world. Our public transportation should be a welcoming service that reflects our pride in our city and our region. An efficient public transportation system is not a choice. It is mandatory for a thriving and growing region now more than ever. Investing in public transportation while at the same time demanding more equity, better service, greater efficiencies, and seamless transfers is the necessary next step. We cannot kick the can down the road any longer. Ignoring this fiscal crisis is really not an option. COVID exacerbated the problems and exposed major issues that we can no longer look the other way. Fixing this, obviously, will be hard and costly, and if it wasn't, it would have been done already. But the cost of doing nothing or just picking away at the problem at the edges is far greater. Transformational change is required to provide the public transportation system that our residents deserve. And obviously we can do hard things. We do them all the time. I applaud the General Assembly for tackling this head on, and I want to stress the importance of keeping equity at the forefront as they determine how to address the fiscal cliff and bring real, lasting, sustainable change to public transportation. The Chicagoland region depends on it. Lake County is committed to being a partner in these efforts for a stronger, more equitable, and coordinated regional transit system, and we look forward to continuing to work together on this critical endeavor. It's now my pleasure to introduce the chair of the DuPage County Board, Deb Conroy.
Good afternoon. As a former legislator, I understand the importance of a strong regional transit system that serves all of our residents. Transit drives our economy. It is in everyone's best interest to have a safe, reliable, easily accessible, and efficient transit system. We are here to express our appreciation to CMAP for their hard work and to frame the issue that the General Assembly will now need to address. We have to innovate, but it isn't a surprise. Even before the pandemic, technology was changing the way we work. Post-pandemic, these changes are more dramatic. For that reason, I now encourage my colleagues in the General Assembly to use the report as a starting point. The fact is, we must think boldly. We must nudge all providers into more effective collaborations and into a transit system that looks dramatically different from the one set up decades ago, designed to serve only commuters moving from the suburbs to a workplace in the city, 5 days a week. The status quo is no longer an option. The fact is, not to use a well-worn pun, the train has left the station. We must not ignore other demographics, social and economic shifts that got us here. For example, in DuPage County, we've seen growth in demand and cost for ADA, paratransit, and dial-a-ride services that support our most vulnerable transit users. In the next decade, our baby boomer population will retire in place and need more transportation options for appointments, shopping, recreation, and entertainment. I encourage my colleagues and local lawmakers to consider the needs of these exploding populations currently underserved in DuPage County. Transit is not a regular, convenient option for residents commuting anywhere but the city. I'm here today to ensure that the reimagining and funding for this new system reflects the strong voice for our collar counties. We must recognize that continued vitality and economic development for city and collar counties will only come with a fiscally responsible plan that embraces the way we work and travel around the region, now and into the future. To my friends in the General Assembly, give me a call. I'm here to work with you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to recognize John Roberson, COO, City of Chicago.
Good morning. Thank you for that. I'm Baptist, so it's the call and response thing for me. Let me first of all thank CMAP for all the work you have put into this report. There are many people in this room who have been talking about the importance of investing in our transit system for years. While the fiscal cliff has brought a new sense of urgency to transit's funding challenges, these issues are not new. The long-standing underfunding of transit operations, coupled with the unprecedented challenges spurred by the pandemic, has brought us to a critical inflection point in transit's history. So today, we cannot shy away from the scale of the funding needs our transit system faces. It is significant, but the value that transit provides for the city and for our region is immeasurable. Transit is the backbone of the city's economy. Our residents rely on transit to get to work on time. Our employers can count on transit to provide access to a vast regional workforce. We are already seeing the beginnings of what the cost of inaction can look like. We need a more robust system that will attract more riders back to downtown. Transit is a gateway to economic opportunity, providing connections to educational institutions, social services, and essential resources. Fundamentally, the lack of investment in transit is an equity issue. With any action we take, we must center the needs of the people who rely on transit the most. Transit is personal and is integral to ensuring our residents have a high quality of life. On a personal note, this is not just about doing the right thing from an economic standpoint. It is also about my kids. It's about my 25-year-old son, my 28-year-old son, my 25-year-old daughter, and my 18-year-old daughter, that when I ask them what are the things that they are going to use in order to determine whether they're going to stay here in Chicago, one of the first things they said is that I need to have access to reliable and affordable public transportation. So again, these issues are not new. Our transit system has been chronically underfunded for decades. We have a lot to learn from this history, and we also need to look ahead and build a system that will allow future generations to thrive like my children. Now we have a choice. We are at a pivotal point and moment for transit. We cannot afford in this moment to be timid. Now is the time for bold action for transit. As we look ahead to the next phase of these discussions, the mayor is committed to regional collaboration. Chicago's success rests on the success of the region, and our region will not succeed without a robust, well-funded transit system. The mayor and the city of Chicago stand ready to be partners with all of you and extend our collaboration to Springfield as we work to make these words a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd also like to recognize State Senator Simmons, who's here with us as well. And finally, the state legislation required us to assemble a steering committee comprised of business, civic, labor, community, and environmental voices as part of our regional report development process. We were committed to making sure that we brought these regionally diverse stakeholders and racially diverse voices to the table. We are also grateful to our steering committee members for bringing their policy expertise and their passion for transit to the table over the past year. Again, next I would like to welcome to the microphone Darlene Hightower from the Metropolitan Planning Council.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Darlene Hightower, and I am the CEO of the Metropolitan Planning Council. MPC is an independent policy and planning organization working to address regional built environment issues through a racial and economic justice lens. Our goal is a thriving Chicago region for all residents. I echo what's been said here. Effective and efficient transit is a critical part of our vision for a thriving region. And there's no question that we need to address the fiscal cliff and stop chronic underfunding of transit. But this is also an opportunity to make sure that our regional system meets the needs of the people who rely on it the most, both within and outside of Chicago. I'm excited about the PART report, and I'm glad that MPC was a part of this process. But we also recognize that this is a first step in a longer journey toward addressing our regional transit needs. We are really hopeful that the PART recommendations become reality. A big thank you to the CMAP staff, board, steering committee members, Senator Villavelum and Representative Delgado for getting us to this point. I'm short and sweet, so I'm going to turn this over now to Mayor Bennett to close us out.
Actually, I picked the wrong order. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Wetmore.
Oh, you messed up.
Sorry, I messed it up. Not her fault, mine. Let me turn it over to Sarah Wetmore from the Civic Federation. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. I'm Sarah Wetmore, acting president of the Civic Federation, a 129-year-old government research organization, nonpartisan, and is focused on financial management and rational tax policy for Chicago and Illinois. Over the past year, I have had the pleasure of serving with an extraordinary group of leaders as part of the steering committee to help develop the plan of action for regional transit. The report is the result of robust debate and much work and support from the staff and leaders of CMAP. And on behalf of the steering committee, I would like to salute you all for your fantastic work. For as long as there have been transit agencies in the Chicago region, the Civic Federation has studied their finances and governance and made recommendations for their improvement. The RTA and the service boards have for many decades been subject to periodic funding crises and last-minute doomsday saves. These cycles have been corrosive to public trust in transit governance and the reliability of a key regional economic asset. It is imperative, therefore, for state and local public officials to work with stakeholders and the civic and business communities to come up with a credible, sustainable, and crucially, long-term plan to address the fiscal cliff we all know is coming, well before it comes. The changes to ridership brought on by the pandemic-related sea change in how people live and work require a fundamental rethink of how we fund transit and how we govern it. Projections show that by 2025, CTA ridership will still only be 2/3 of what it was in 2019, and has been mentioned several times and deserves to be mentioned many, many more times to come. The transit agencies serving Northeastern Illinois collectively anticipate a $730 million deficit beginning in 2026 and growing significantly each year thereafter if no action is taken to permanently replace remaining federal COVID-19 funds after they have been expended. Transit experts agree that the level of service reductions and fare increases required to close such large deficits alone would be catastrophic and lead to even further ridership declines, more traffic and congestion, greater inequality, and instability in our ability to move people and goods throughout the region, just about the worst case scenario for one of the world's leading transportation hubs. Without question, public transit plays a critical role in the economic activity of our urban and suburban areas. Whether or not you yourself ride a train or bus, your community relies on public transit as an essential component of its very existence. In April, the Federation hosted a policy forum on the future of transit along with the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago and Civic Committee of the Commercial Club. The forum brought together experts from across the country, and one of the key takeaways was the need to ensure that decisions about transit funding and governance are based on public policy, best practices, and sound data and evaluation, not expediency or how things have always been done. The time to secure solutions for the impending transit funding crisis is now. The Civic Federation looks forward to following the transit-related actions in the Illinois General Assembly in the spring, and will be conducting more research on the PART recommendations and public transit generally throughout 2024. We appreciate CMAP's work in engaging our region's transportation experts, civic leaders, and key stakeholders in the development of the plan of action for regional transit, and we appreciate having had a seat at that table. Finally, thank you to all of you in this room this morning and for your attention to this critical topic. Thank you.
And with that, let me ask our board chairman, Mayor Bennett, to come to the mic.
Good morning, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be here as chairman of CMAP to turn this report over to the General Assembly. As you know, that CMAP was tasked 9 months ago to come up with a bold plan. And as a theme from the Plan of Chicago, we make no small plans. This report, I think, talks about a generational situation that this region is in right now. I've been mayor for 43 years, so I guess I can talk a little bit about generational things. And certainly almost 20 years ago, when the General Assembly created CMAP, bringing both land planning and transportation as a single agency to this region, a lot of people didn't think it could take place. The board is comprised of members from the city of Chicago, Suburban, and the Collar counties. And could they ever work together? Well, let me tell you, CMAP over the years has proven exactly that we can work together. That we can improve the quality of life in our region, whether through transportation or land planning and many other areas in between. And we have done that job over the 20 years. I think that's why the General Assembly tasked us with this responsibility to come up and assist in our regional transportation agencies crisis that they are about to enter in the next 2 years. I can't thank enough the incredible work that's done by the CMAP staff every day. But certainly to take on this task in a 9-month period, to come up with hundreds of hours of work that's been done in collaboration with the primary partners in the region, to be transparent, to have open conversation about what this plan should entail and going forward again in the future of the Chicagoland region. So again, it is very generational. The task is now being put into the hands of the General Assembly, and I know that certainly the support that this plan was able to come up with. Again, understand that it was not only the CMAP board, which is a 15-member board, but also the MPO Policy Committee, which is comprised of the transit agencies and the county chairs across the entire region. And this plan, this report, this discussion led to a unanimous vote of both those committees. Almost 30 people, 30 officials across this metropolitan region who support the findings in this report, and we'll work going forward with the General Assembly. The work doesn't stop today. Today's a moment of celebration, but we will be here for the members of this committee, the chairs of this committee, and the hard work that's going to take place. There is going to certainly be political struggle over this, but more importantly, it is how do we answer the challenge of this region. We've had a regional transportation agency, but not really when you think about it. Borders were created years ago stopping at the edges of the city limits of Chicago, and then a separate thing going on beyond that. Truly, this report, in its attempt to make it a true regional transportation agency, I think is critical as we go forward. There's a lot of problems to be resolved. Again, we commit ourselves to the members of the General Assembly, particularly in the chairmanships, but to come back to us with any assistance and help, and I think you've heard from the county chairs that we're all in this together. That's the most important thing as we go forward. As CMAP has proved, we are all in this together. It is one region, one of the greatest metropolitan regions in the world as far as I'm concerned, and I think for us to sustain ourselves going forward, the results of it, not just the results of this report, but the action taken by the General Assembly is going to be critical as to answering that question. Again, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'm going to thank our staff for the great job they've done. Again, this is only a moment of celebration. In fact, you're invited down to the 4th floor for some refreshments. But again, I want to thank all the partners in this region for assisting us, both in the public and private sectors, to make this report come true, and more importantly, if it comes true with the actions of the General Assembly. So thank you all this morning for being here. Again, it's been an honor to serve as chairman of CMAP, and the work will continue. Thank you.
Again, I'll just say thank you, and with that, you are welcome to join us on the 4th floor and celebrate with our staff with some refreshments. Thank you very much.